Hi Virgo, welcome to your December 2023 Astro-Tarotscope with me, Raphael from Radiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. Quick note, these readings are for your sun, moon and ascendant sign, though if you're only going to watch one, I do advise that you make sure it's your ascendant. It's going to be the most accurate for you on that day-to-day level. With that said, I would like to bless my decks of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance, and I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise. They help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. So I'm going to pop these to the side. The first transit that I want to talk to you about is on the 3rd of December. Oh, okay, so let's get that to do its thing. Behave yourself, camera. On the 3rd of December, Venus, the lady of pleasure, luxury, harmony, diplomacy, is coming into a square with Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. So this is a pretty big deal because it's going to represent some kind of power struggle, right? Now for you, Capricorn represents your 5th house of pleasure, romance, your creativity, creative ideas. You've got then Venus in the 2nd house in her own sign of Libra, which is all to do with money, finances and resources, but also your personal values. What I find really intriguing about this is because obviously the aspect itself speaks to power struggles in relationships of some sort that center around either creative ideas or endeavors or projects that you have, maybe even investments that you're planning or would like to take in some regard. What I find really interesting about this, I feel like this is potentially a lot of you may be fighting for some kind of creative control. And so I want you to be really mindful here. Like, what are you prepared to compromise on, and what is an absolute no-go and a deal breaker? And there's always going to be something, right? I know for me personally, there's some things that I'm absolutely happy, you know, whether it's a personal relationship, whether it's a familial tie, whatever the case might be. There's some things that I'm absolutely open for debate on, and there's other things that I'm like, listen, I ain't budging. So it is what it is, right? Now, for you, Venus is always welcome in the 2nd house because it's always a nice financial boost, right? It brings that good money, right? She sweetens and cleans up wherever she goes effectively and brings blessings there, which is great. So there's a glow up possibly that's happened with your finances, or an easing of them at least. Now, this could though have enhanced your sweet tooth because your 2nd house is it's food, it's what you eat, what you like to eat. And it could have seen you overindulging when it comes to spending, when it comes to eating, all of those things. Now, because it's come into a square with Pluto in the final degrees of Capricorn, as if we haven't had enough of this transit, oh my gosh, right? There's a chance that you could not only overdo it here, but also get into a power struggle, maybe with children if you've got them, maybe with a partner over who's raising who and how it's being done, all of that kind of stuff. If you've got stepchildren, things like that, there could be challenges around this as well, which I hope that's not the case. But for a lot of you, I do feel like this might be that you're, like I say, fighting for some kind of creative control here. This is one of those times where business and pleasure really do not mix, so I would just be mindful of that. Pluto is highlighting the power dynamics and control issues within romance, especially where money is concerned. So if you've just started to see somebody and like you're constantly having to foot the bill when you go out, or you're always expected to pay for things, you know, there's some stuff that needs to be looked at there. Now, personally, I've got, you know, friends that I have that will go on dates. There's 2 girls in particular who were like, let a man pay for my dinner? They ain't having it. One of them, she cracks me up. She was like, really? Yeah, there'll be none of that. And a part of it is because she never wants to have that experience of like, oh, you know, I'm a kept woman or whatever. She's like, nah, I'm independent. I do me, right? If anyone's getting kept here, I'll do the keeping. And I love her for it because she is to me like the epitome of a boss ass chick. Like, she don't have none of it. Don't get me wrong. If she likes someone, she'll let them buy her things or pay for dinner or whatever. But those 2 for me are personally very good examples because they like to keep things very, very even. If you've just started seeing somebody and you're constantly expected to foot the bill once, twice, you know, if you go out for dinner 5 times, and you pay for 2 of those dinners, that's cool, right? Like, it should be relatively somewhat equal. Whereas if you're constantly being the one that has to foot the bill, no, honey, something's wrong there, right? So look out for that in this regard. It could be as well that there's something that you want to do or to experience, but you're getting the realization that if someone else is involved, you're expected to foot the bill. So it's like, you know what? If I'm going to have pleasurable experiences with somebody that I constantly have to foot the bill for or with, probably not the one. For this, you've got the Wheel of Fortune, you've got the King of Cups, oh dear, you've got the Tower card. Look, I'm going to be really honest with you. The way that I feel like this might play out for some of you, listen, don't talk to me, it's the cards, right? The cards are out here being shady. If you are seeing someone, if you're dating, if you're in that sphere, you might go on a date with somebody and meet somebody else while you're out on that date. I'm not saying you'll do anything about it. I'm just saying with the Wheel of Fortune with the King of Cups, I was like, yeah, there's a possibility here. And, you know, look, that might actually be the purpose of the date after all. For those of you that are partnered, married, or in long-term commitments, this I actually think is potentially your partner being in the right place at the right time to get an opportunity of some sort, but it's going to be very disruptive to your relationship. It may also be, for those of you that are not interested in partnerships or love or whatever, any of that stuff, it might also be that that creative control that you're fighting for comes because something that you do, something that you create or put out into the world starts to really gain some traction, right? Wheel of Fortune with the King of Cups. But then the Tower card says that somebody says, well, you know, let's say, oh gosh, come on brain, like you're, you know, maybe you get approached to make a movie out of your book, like with J.K. Rowling, right? And one of the things that I think she asked for a certain amount of creative control in that project. You might have to fight for this, and to be honest with you, because it's the Tower, you might not get it. So it becomes like a toss-up. What are you willing to give or to budge on, all right? So the next transit that I want to talk about for you is Venus will move into the sign of Scorpio, into your 3rd house of communications. She's going to start to... Venus is all about diplomacy. It's all about harmony, contracts, etc. But more from like the haggling perspective, where you're trying to balance out who gets what is fair. Because she's coming into the 3rd house, if you have anything that you want to sell, any sales that you want to do, anything of that nature, this could be really great for you. The finances could come really good from it. If you have things that you want to ask for that will require contracts, this is a good time to do it. It's a good time to think about it because you're more appealing at this time, right? Certainly in terms of your words are more appealing to other people. She is in her fallen Scorpio, but she's bringing a healing balm and a soothing energy to this space for you. So I love that, especially for those of a financial nature. This is a communication space of your chart, bringing those sweet words, those healing words, right? Things that you need. It's a really good time to spruce up a website, especially in terms of like the aesthetics, how something looks, how it sort of presents, like your payment gateways, all of that kind of stuff. If you can smooth and streamline the process, while, you know, over the course of this next, let's say 3+ weeks, I absolutely would. And if you can get it done before the 14th, that would be even better, because that's when Mercury is going to go retrograde, okay? It's showing you here that your dreams and future goals are possible, but you will need to have like a solid plan here. Now, Venus doesn't necessarily talk about plans, but you could convince somebody to help you create one. So I really love that. What's really awesome as well is Mercury, your ruling planet, at this time is in the sign of Capricorn, and where is it? And in Capricorn at like 3 degrees. Venus is at 0 degrees at this point of Scorpio, and then you've got Saturn, which will be at 1 degree of Pisces. So this is setting up a really nice energy because these two are going to be trying to each other. which I absolutely love. Venus is steadying, Saturn is steadying Venus because she's in the sign of her fall, but she's getting a trine from Saturn, which is kind of fortifying her energy. And then Mercury is playing the go between the two of these to say, right, okay, these are the two things that you guys are trying to express. Mercury doing what Mercury does best, playing the synthesizer here. So this is a connection that kind of speaks to you, to like how you create your own future, providing you've got the right connections to work with. Use it, all right? Like, you absolutely use the connections that are around you at this time. So you've got the Hanged Man with the Fool card. That's a very creative energy with the Two of Swords. So flashes of inspiration, probably flashes of insight or creative ideas or sparks that just come to you at this time. Use it. Ask lots of different people. I don't know why, but what comes to mind here is Elon Musk. Whether you love him or loathe him, you know, I don't care, to be completely honest with you. I don't use him as examples because I'm his biggest fan. I use him because he's a really good case study for certain things. Now, I remember seeing something, it was a documentary on him, and this guy said one day he sent him an email and said to him, like, you know, can you do this, this and this with this, you know, this thing. It was something about a piece of code or whatever. And the guy was like, well, no, you couldn't. You would have to create something to da 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 da. Anyway, he broke it down for him, and and then Elon goes back to him and says to him, can you do it for a certain amount of money? And the guy was like, well, no, because it's not possible. And he was like, okay, what are the components? He took the components, he disappeared, and then he created the thing himself. This could be something along those lines. You're having this idea, you're having this kind of spark of some sort, and then you're saying, right, what are the connections that I need to help me build this? Because Mercury is sextile in Pisces, and it's also in a nice energy to oh, come on, brain, and in a sextile to Venus at the same time, and then Venus and Saturn are in a trine. So it's a really, really nice time for this, I think. All right, so the next thing that we want to look at is Mercury is going to go retrograde in the sign of Capricorn, which for you represents that fifth house of pleasure and romance. Now, this is your ruling planet, right? It's going to do the final backward dance. It's going to take us right through until the 2nd of January of 2024. Which is why I've said to everybody, like, the new year does not start the way 2023 does. Do not get caught with your pants around your ankles, right? 2024 is going to start, and it's going to be relentless for a solid 5 months, I would say, right? Well, certainly for the first 4, and Mercury goes retrograde, I think, on the 4th of April. But trust me, those first 4 months of next year are going to be relentless. Do not get caught lagging behind, right? Old lovers, old partners could be resurfacing for you at this time. For some of you as well, you could be having a blast with like your Christmas party for your work due. Maybe you're rethinking declining that Christmas party. If you've said no to it, I would rethink it, because you might end up having a really good time. It could be a time where you see some really weird stuff and you're just kind of like, what the hell? Like, I see these people every day. I would never know that they would behave in this way, right? It's Mercury retrograde. So if you've got children as well, communications with your children could be kind of a little bit awry at the moment, or kind of all over the place, especially around a schooling challenge or issue of some sort. Could also be for some of you that you're deciding to go back to school, and therefore explaining to your children that maybe you won't be as available in the days ahead moving forward. It'll come back into the sign of Sagittarius, into your 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate. So for this, you've got the Knight of Pentacles with the 4 of Cups and the 6 of Swords. So for a lot of you, there is a possibility that this speaks to travel. And for some of you, you might be redefining travel plans. You might even be deciding that actually this is kind of the way to go from here, right? Like you might actually say to yourself, you know, I wasn't going to do this because I didn't know if I had the time, I didn't know if I had the money, I didn't know if it was the right thing to do, but actually it feels totally right. It's almost like something that you had maybe previously put off or decided you were going to put off, you now sort of move ahead with. The 6 of Swords with the 4 of Cups as well. Wherever you decline or have declined some kind of invite, I think you will change your mind, and I got to be honest with you, I do think that you should. And if you've been with me long enough, you know I never tell anyone what they should or shouldn't do. But I feel like this is one of those times where I will use it sparingly. If you've declined an invite of some sort, don't. I'm telling you, you're going to have an absolute blast. Is it going to be a little cray? Probably, because Mercury's retrograde, right? It is what it is. Finally, on the 20th, that's on the 14th of the month. On the 27th of the month, Mars is going to come into a conjunction with that Mercury in the sign of Sagittarius. So in your fourth house of home, family, property, real estate, your deep emotional makeup. And it's going to square Neptune in Pisces in your relationship sector. This could be a disagreement with a partner. It could be a disagreement within the family. It could also be that and remember, you are the Mercury retrograde. Now, conjunct Mars, which is the ruler of your third house and your eighth house, you could have an opinion here that is either not the popular one or goes against the grain in some regard. I almost feel here as well, and maybe I'd be wrong about this, but I don't feel like I am, if I'm completely honest. This is going to be just around this time of the full moon as well. So also emotions are running high at this time, right? Just be conscious. You could go off on someone here, right? Because there's that square to, and because there's the square to Neptune, this is like you could completely get it wrong. Like, have you ever, I don't know if you've ever had this experience where you've absolutely hammered someone only to realize that you misheard or misinterpreted what they said, or maybe you cussed someone out and then you realize like the person that had kind of weaponized you or armed you or in some regard had not told you. It's kind of like, when you're little, and kids are kids, right? So they did this to me. Like, oh, my poor baby, I can't believe it. What happened? And you only kind of tell your parent really the thing that you want them to know. You don't really go into the fact that you probably had a hand in all of this. This could be something along those lines as well. So whether it's the partner or whether it's the family member or whether it's both, just know that there is probably another side to whatever story is being told at this time, and you don't want to allow this to kind of get the better of you, because you could absolutely pop off on someone and then realize that not only did you get it wrong, but you now look like an idiot, or you look like a real piece of work, quite frankly. And the truth is that you got it wrong, right? So you could end up needing to really backtrack here. So watch it, okay? Now, you've got this with the Eight of Pentacles. Is possibly in terms of your work. You've got this with the Eight of Wands. So 2 8 represents new knowledge. So whatever information you're getting, be mindful of where it's coming from and what they may not be telling you. This isn't saying you have to be psychic and know exactly what somebody's hiding from you. It's about having the wisdom, the world card, to really see, there's always 3 sides to a story. Yours, theirs, and the actual truth right directly in the middle. Know better, I feel like, is what the Tower is trying to say to you here. So watch out for this one, because it could be intense. And because it's the world card, it does suggest that this is potentially with somebody that's older. A parent, a grandparent. You're not getting the full story here. Neptune's involved, right? We never get the full story with Neptune. So, or it's magnified or blown out of proportion or whatever the case might be. So just be aware, be mindful. All right, so for your moons, you have the new moon in Sagittarius that's on the 12th of the month. And then that for you is happening in your 4th house of home, family, property, real estate, right? And also where you live, who you live there with, your roots, your deep sort of emotional self is the 4th house, right? It's how you really feel about something, and it's also your parents. So fresh starts, new beginnings in all of these areas in some regard. Before this, you got the gate 27. Look at that. This card literally is a family card. So when I see this here for your 4th house new moon, there is going to be some change that takes place within the familial ties this month. I think it will sober you up or wisen you up to the fact that maybe, just maybe, there are some things within that space that need to change, or potentially for some of you, this could be you starting to look elsewhere in terms of your living situation. And then on the 26th of the month, you've got the full moon in the sign of, the 27th of the month, you've got the full moon in the sign of Cancer. That for you is in your 11th house. All right, 11th house is benefactors, your higher, your future aspirations, hopes, goals, and dreams, and benefactors, people that can actually help you fulfill these kinds of things. For this, you've got the gate 24 and returning. I wouldn't be surprised, especially because Mercury, your ruler, is going to be retrograde at this time. I wouldn't be surprised if an old goal, maybe an old social media contact, maybe an old work connection or colleague of some sort is coming back into the fold for you at this time. And because it's a full moon, you're seeing whoever or whatever it is in the cold light of day, right? They're not going to be able to hide this from you. And you could be making a new decision, because the returning card is about revisiting or returning to old chapters in order to close them down. Or sometimes it's about, you know, kind of like when you get back to the honeymoon period with a partner, or when you go back to, you know, when you get back to a place in your work where things are running smoothly and everything is good. So all in all, it's a pretty decent energy. I've totally forgot to mention as well, your Astro-Tarotscopes for the year ahead are up and out there for your viewing pleasure. You can get the $7.99 a piece, or you can get the bundle for $49.99. As if that wasn't enough, you can get the New Year, New Frequency. There's a handful of discount codes out there left at this moment in time. I wanted to take the year ahead readings further this year by giving you something that's actually going to assist you in really getting the most out of what is promising to be a monumental year. It's a universal year 8, so you've got to take advantage of this, all right? With that said, whatever you do or don't celebrate, from my heart to yours, thank you so much for all of your support throughout 2023. It really does mean the absolute world. Thank you. Whether you celebrate Yule, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, or Christmas, whether you do or don't celebrate, from my heart to yours, have a wonderful holiday season. Look after yourself and your loved ones. Take care, and I'll see you soon.